with many paths to take, some filled with darkness and dangers, others filled with light and honor. What path will you take? Rated M for mature.
You know, I don't think there was a game that I can remember from my high school years that I was more excited for than Fable, a role-playing game released in 2004 by Lionhead Studios for the original Xbox. But to understand the excitement that I had for this game and why it ran so deep, we're gonna have to take a look at the game that Lionhead Studios developed right before Fable, Black and White. Black and White was a god simulator where you controlled different deities and had civilizations worship them depending on how you decided to play. This was a game that was all about choices. I could choose to be a benevolent, kind, and empathetic leader who gains people's loyalty through religion, faith, or I could be a malevolent force who rules by using intimidation and punishment to instill fear into my followers if they didn't bow to me. So needless to say, my expectations were very high when it came to Lionhead Studio video games. Now bringing it back to Fable, hearing that Lionhead was making an open-world fantasy role-playing game, my jaw dropped after hearing some of the things creator Peter Molyneux was hyping up in Xbox Magazine.
We are creating a game where the choices you make on your journey impact your character and the world around him. A game where each playthrough will be a different experience from the one before it. Plant an oak tree and carve your name into it, then return years later and see it grown. You could take any weapon, make it amazing and all-powerful, and the weapon itself would become famous. Your character can have kids and later play as them if you died. Tom from Sega Head. Peter Molyneux.
Quotes like this harken back to my days of playing Black and White, and since this game, Fable, was going to be an open-world fantasy RPG, insert Futurama take my money meme. My mind was racing with all of the possibilities that this game could bestow upon me. Could it live up to the expectations, to all of the hype? Spoiler alert! No, it couldn't, and it didn't, but knowing what I know about the game now, maybe there's a chance that I might enjoy it. Just slightly. Let's find out. Fable takes place in the land of Albion, where in the small village of Oakvale, you start out as a young boy whose village is attacked by a gang of bandits. With everyone in the village slaughtered but you, a mysterious magic user by the name of Maze, who is definitely not a villain, teleports you to the Heroes Guild, a school dedicated to training kids to become something greater than themselves by the ways of the sword and magic. The art direction they took with this game is extremely pleasing to the eye. Bright colors with a semi-cartoonish look to the environments, but still believable architecture in the buildings. NPCs walking around giving the illusion of a real living world. And the music in this game is fantastic. It's super atmospheric and fits perfectly in this medieval fantasy world. And it's done by Danny Elfman. And if you know who he is, well, you're awesome, because his music is amazing. Oakvale and the Guild serve as the tutorial areas, giving you your first taste of being able to make decisions as well as basic combat and game controls. The Guild will be the first time jump in the game. Now you're a teenager being trained by Master Roshi's British cousin. And one of my favorite bits of dialogue in the entire games happens here when you're being taught how to use a melee weapon. You see that glowing sphere on the ground? That's an experience orb. If you pick that up, you can use it to spend to increase your strength, skills, and magic. Now just imagine someone saying that to you like in real life, and it made me laugh so fucking hard. I couldn't believe how silly it sounded. And hearing an NPC say that to your character in a game where skills like casting spells and swinging a sword is supposed to increase naturally over time depending on how much you use them, it just comes off as not cool. The Heroes Guild is also the main hub area of the game, where you'll be constantly coming back to in order to progress in the game. Most of the side quests and all of the main story quests are picked up here, as well as increasing your stats and learning new spells. And now, after all the blood, sweat, and tears that you put into training over the last 5 minutes, you're set off into this vast open world to become a true hero. And this is the part in Fable that I can remember being the most disappointed about, because open world Fable is not. For my first playthrough, I went full-blown evil. One of the biggest draws to this game was how your character changes over time depending on your choices. The more evil you are, the more grotesque you look, sporting horns, black eyes, and filthy, unclean skin that attracts flies. Oh yeah, and you lose your fucking hair. And that makes perfect sense too, because as we all know, bald people are disgusting evil people. And good choices will make you look more holy, donning a halo and butterflies. Fable is a hub-based RPG, meaning that each area is a self-contained section of the map where you can explore but are restricted to a linear path separated by a load screen. So if you want to walk from Bowerstone to Darkwood, there's only one path you have to take, but you have to sit through 7 fucking loading screens when you enter a new zone. And fast traveling is essential, and the way that you'll do this is via a Cullis Gate. These are portals that are usually near important areas of the map. I would have liked to have seen at least a horse mount in the game, but since the game is so linear, there's really no need for one. Speaking of linear, most of the quests in this game, aside from a few, boil down to just doing escort quests where you have to rescue said traveling merchant or a lost child and protect them while walking back to safety, or teaming up with bandits to do the same thing. I think my favorite mainline quest was the Arena Zone. Here you'll be able to change the title that people refer to you as from Chicken Chaser to something more appropriate like Deathbringer. And you'll fight your way through waves of monsters and bandits to earn piles of gold while at the same time pleasing a stadium of spectators. And here's where you first meet the main antagonist of the game, Jack of Blades. And there's really not a whole lot to say about him, at least I didn't have anything to say about him, because he's extremely one-dimensional and all he wants is an evil sword that can raise the dead to bring destruction upon all of Albion because evil! He's the evil character who wants to do evil things to bring evil upon the world and rule the world because we're evil!
All I said was there's evil afoot.
Boasting quests is also an option. This will allow you to gather a crowd once you become more well known in the region. Boasting, and pay attention here now folks, because the irony of this comes full circle later on, allows you to gain extra XP and gold by promising the crowd things that you'll do while completing said quest, such as not being hit once by any enemies, wearing no armor at all, and finishing the quest in under a certain time frame. Irony! Excuse me. You'll be able to pick up a ton of different items while playing this game through enemy drops, chests, and rifling through strangers' belongings. Anything that drops from an enemy will always be a consumable for either replenishing HP and MP as well as a small bit of gold. But when it comes to chests and stealing stuff, it can range from armor, weapons, to weapon augmentations, hairstyle cards, and tattoo cards. Augmentations can be applied to melee weapons, giving them an elemental effect which makes them glow. But once you do this, it can't be undone. For hairstyle and tattoo cards, this serves as the game's way of making up for not being able to customize your hero from the start. And it's a huge shame because you can't even choose your gender when you start the game. It's like Peter Molyneux assumed that only men play video games. LOL. Hidden throughout the world of Albion are silver keys and silver chests, and these can only be unlocked if you have a specific number of silver keys. These are how you'll be able to find the most powerful armor and weapons, as well as opening demon doors. These things really remind me of something that would be in like the movie Labyrinth. You'll have to decipher a riddle and perform a specific action in front of the door for it to open. Another thing I like about this game is actually the bronze quests. These are different from main quests and side quests, in which you'll find them out in the world rather than picking them up from the Heroes Guild. One in particular is the quest Sword in the Stone, and since this is Albion, I was hoping there would be at least one reference to Camelot. And the only way you can do that is by having every skill in your strength stat maxed out to level 7. Only then can you pull it out, and the sword is awesome. It's called the Harbinger, I think, not Excalibur. Is that trademarked? Magic is also pretty fun. There's multiple spells that you can learn, from lightning, fireballs, to ghost swords and slowing down time. It definitely breaks up the monotony of just swinging a sword or shooting a bow, and can save you from certain death or help you out with crowd control. And trust me, this game loves to throw just hordes of mobs at you, It gets really overwhelming at times, but having abilities that can do AoE damage or slow down time, like I said, really helps out with that. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. There's a plethora of different expressions that you can use on townsfolk. I gotta give him credit here, because how many games can you name where you can literally fart and burp on an NPC and they'll react to it? It always got a laugh out of me.
That face has seen some action.
But the main thing I like about Fable, and really most of Peter Molyneux's games in general, they all have a ton of personality and charm.
What? I was just, I've never even met this woman. Who is she? Look, Sonny, keep your mouth shut about this, right? My wife's at home with our little ones, and I'm supposed to be working. But a man should be entitled to do what he likes, don't you think? My advice to you, don't get tied down to one woman.
This definitely comes from the very dry and sarcastic British-style humor, and I find myself forgiving a lot of the negatives in the game because of this. You can also see elements from Black and White that bleed over into Fable, and I don't know, I just really like it. Now, back to complaining. I think there were only 2 or 3 story decisions that I felt would have made the biggest impact in the game, but this wouldn't be the case at all. And that's my biggest gripe with Fable, how lackluster your character choices and moral alignments feel. I killed every innocent villager I could. I teamed up with bandits at every opportunity, and no matter how evil my alignment was, nothing about the core elements of the game changed. I was still allowed to buy things at shops, I was still able to walk freely through towns where in previous quests I'd killed multiple guards. Being evil never hindered my abilities to do anything. It also never gave me any perks that would come with evil choices. You'd think when helping out bandits that eventually they would see me as an ally, and wouldn't attack me when walking through Albion, or at the very least wouldn't notice me when I was wearing their own armor. But nope, you might have saved their leader from being executed, but no matter how evil you are, they still see you as something to kill. So when you think about it, your choices and moral alignment have no bearing on anything whatsoever. And the worst part is, once you beat the game, there's no way to continue playing afterwards. Instead, it starts you at the save point before going to the Hook Coast. There's no New Game Plus. You can't just continue playing after you've already beaten the boss. You go back to that save file, and everything that you've accumulated from then to the end is gone. So if you want to finish everything in the game, you have to do it before taking that quest. But to be fair, when you peel back the layers of disappointment that Fable has, there's some good ideas hiding underneath. Playing through this game again, knowing what I was going to get from Fable, did actually help me enjoy this game more. It's a solid little RPG. My initial playthrough took about 8.5 hours to beat, but despite the lack of content and features in this game, it still went on to be one of the best-selling Xbox games of all time, with positive reception from critics giving the game 8s and 9s out of 10s across the board. And later, after the game's initial release, Fable The Lost Chapters was released for the Platinum Hits version. Granted, you'll have to start a completely new file as it doesn't add on to the one you already have, but it does give you more quests, more armors, more weapons, stuff like that. But as far as I'm concerned, it was too little, too late. And that is Fable. Or more or less. I didn't say a few things like that you can buy houses and you can get married, but really those things don't do anything to change the core gameplay at all. I don't know why they were in there, just to say, you can get married, you can buy a house and have lots of kids, which you can't do. But did my opinion of the game change playing it knowing what I knew about it already? And I would say, yeah, it's a decent little role-playing game like I stated earlier. Not amazing, but I can understand now why so many people really like this game. I guess I was just disappointed because it didn't live up to what I thought it was going to be, and that's not the game's fault, that's Peter Molyneux's fault. And the game went on to have 3 sequels, Fable 2, Fable 3, and Fable Journeys, which I own all of them, but I haven't played anything past the first game, so maybe I'll give those games a go since I don't know what is in them and what is not. But really, I want to know what you guys think about Fable. Let me know in the comments section if this game was a complete disappointment to you back in the day like it was for me, or did you like it from the start and have been a, cult following fan the entire time? Let me know. And thank you to everyone who voted for this game. A lot more people voting this time around. I think there was like almost 90 or maybe over 90 votes as opposed to the 59 votes I think the last one got. So it's cool. I'm glad you guys are enjoying this format, I guess. And I love doing this type of video. This is my favorite series on my channel. It's just so fun talking about old Xbox games and my times playing them, because that was like prime time high schooler nerd lair video gaming era. So yeah. And as always, if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button down below, and the notification bell. It lets you know when I go live and when I upload new content, which is at least once a week. And be sure to share this video too. I don't say that a whole lot, but if you know anyone who really likes Fable, or hates it, either one might like this, because I said good and bad things about it. Share it with them. They might get a kick out of it. And that's going to do it for this video. Thank you again for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next episode when I cover another game that was only on Xbox.
Oh, we've got this notion that we quite like to sail the ocean, so we're building a big boat to leave here for good. We're not keen on sinking, so we're all sitting here thinking, 'cause we built it too big and we've run out of wood.